Let's do this series, the Rouen Cathedral,
Okay.
for Monet. His other most famous, two most famous maybe that would be similar would be his water lilies, which he used over and over and over again, and also the haystacks. But
Okay.
some of those same ideas are present in all three of these series. So if you scroll,
Yeah, do you want to do the screen share? You probably have this ready for yourself.
yeah, I do, and I've got it.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get it pulled up here quick. Okay. Yeah, and when I start the screen share here, viewers will see I've got it pulled up to quite a few of the paintings in the series on the Wikipedia page all at once here. So this is the gallery, and maybe we could blow a couple of these up, but the people get the idea. Schlain's posit, as far as Monet is concerned, is that he was the main artist to come along in this Impressionist period and be concerned with time and the passage of time, the perception of time, how the same object or same scene could be affected by different light, different seasons, different times of an individual day, so on and so forth. And some of these of the cathedral, like this one, is so impressionistic and sketchy as to almost, it barely exists in a way. It's close to an abstract, completely abstract painting. This one's pretty more intense here with the red tones used and so on. Maybe it's sunrise or sunset and so on. So, you get the idea. We could keep cycling through different paintings in the series, but he did, I think, 20 of these, maybe thereabouts. And so this idea that, time recurs, and though like the Western conception is of time moving, from the past into the present and then to the future, and kind of this arrow and moving straight ahead, Monet, considered time more plastic, and potentially even more circuitous, in that the same place continues to exist, and does the nature of this object depicted change if there's a change in the light presented upon it and its place in time and so forth. That was his major idea, and obviously a lot of people also look to Monet in terms of his use of color and getting more bold with that, and kind of laying some of the groundwork for other artists like Gauguin and Van Gogh and so on to get more bold with some of the color palettes that they would use. But I'll kick it off with those comments. Do you want to run with some more comments on this series and in itself, or Monet as an artist in general?
So, just to again, reground that a little bit, so we're past the stage of, perspective. We could sort of violate that. Now we want to just kind of, do the temporal side of things, right? Not simply sketch out impressionistically, those kinds of, perceptions, right? The sum of those perceptions, but also just, how would we show, an object through time, if we only have, essentially a two-dimensional space, right? Do we just do this 20 times? Because, the interesting part is although yes, part of the idea was I'm going to paint this many times over just to show, kind of temporally, literally, on so-and-so day, on this morning, this is what it looks like. Here, in the evening is what the cathedral looks like again. But even if you just look at, if you just, click on any one of these, essentially, just doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that one's a little bit blurry. Let's go to the next. How about this one?
Yeah, I mean, you first of all, it's sometimes, yes, you do get this kind of literal color from the sun, but the fact that you have so much melding into the bottom, it's almost as if we are talking about a temporal transition within the painting itself, right? There is something happening here, right? There is, the sky at the very top is a little bit darker, then everything else is kind of green, right? So, and this makes sense because, you know, we know where the sun is coming from. You like, even beyond like this idea of like, let's do like, because, you know, like if you think about it, like doing a painting like 20 times over to capture different parts of like time, is that really that different than showing Jesus Christ in 12 different positions in the same painting, simply to like show like all the possible relations that he could be in to like various ideas or objects or other people? You're just kind of like creating and duplicating, even if it, you know, it looks new. So I think beyond like the sheer number of works that Monet did, kind of like going at this idea, I think it's interesting to look at the individual paintings, like apart from the series, and ask like, well, is this individual painting actually fulfilling the kind of, you know, macro desire and objective of the series itself? And I think, you know, in this example, there's plenty of places you could point to on the canvas where, you know, you could make some kind of plausible argument for a temporal shift at least being alluded to.
Yeah, for sure. I want to read one quick quote from the book about Monet that speaks to some of what you were just talking about. So, let's see. So yeah, he talks a little bit about the melding together that you did as well, where like the Euclidean concept of top, bottom, right, left, all of that begins to fade a bit with the way things get kind of like compressed into just one version of the image. But this is in relation to the water lilies series. But he says, building on Manet's manipulation of the horizon line, Monet raised the viewer's angle of vision until the horizon was somewhere off the canvas. Then, unlike Monet, he reduced the variety of elements on the canvas to two: water lilies and water. His paintings in these later years became increasingly diffuse. The distinction between what was in the water, on the water, or reflected upon the water became ever more difficult for the viewer to discern until they became a continuum of elements and color. Finally, in compositions that tested the limits of realism and bordered on abstract art, Monet's image became so blurred that all orienting visual clues disappeared. So, you know, as it relates to like what discovery in physics is supposed to be presaging, we're about to get to Einstein. You know, it's which I think, you know, Shlain by far gives the heaviest treatment in the book to Einstein's ideas in terms of physics. So, you know, this idea that time might be relative, it might be melded, the same object could be, like you said, just sort of compressed and diffused to the point where we're not even exactly sure what it is anymore that's being depicted. You know, figures into some of Einstein's ideas. So,
like when I look at a painting like this, you know, Einstein's ideas, like we're going to talk about them, like they're supposed to be counterintuitive, which is why like you get all this controversy to begin with. But I mean, even if this was like a counterintuitive painting at the time, like haven't you seen like cathedrals that look just like this? Like I have plenty of things like filed away in my memory where you have almost this kind of like, you know, you could call it either a hellish or a holy light. You know, honestly, it wouldn't even matter, which is like a very interesting kind of comment to be able to say about a painting. But whether this is a hellish light or you know, anything else, like I've seen things that look like that red, and I've seen like my eyes make like this kind of temporal transition, like, you know, at other parts of you know, a painting, and maybe it wouldn't look just like in the way that Monet might paint it, but clearly of the things that I've experienced, like it fits neatly into, you know, one of these or some of these variations.
Yeah, no question. And even in a way, this is what memories become in a sense, right? Because I'm the same as you, right? You know, I've seen buildings, you know, whether they're this grand or it's something more like prosaic and suburban from around the United States or whatever. There are certain seasons, certain lights, certain you know, objects that do stick in our memory. But like once things move along far enough from that exact moment, it becomes something more like this. It's hazier and yet still kind of visceral. I mean, it still conjures up some sort of feeling. So
yes, and that's an interesting observation about memory. But come to think of it, it is like, so many memories look just like this. Like I could, I can think of even specific years that in my mind look like this. And but that is also, like, if we're talking about Monet and what his sort of temporal contribution is to this art and physics equation, the fact that it wants to play just naturally on your memory in that way. Like, I'm not sure if, people have made that observation before. I didn't see it in art and physics, right? But it seems like of the different levels at which art works, right? Being able to tap into that kind of, part of human beings that are so kind of both emotionally resonant, and it could also be kind of intellectually rich. That's very useful, right? Like every one of these, like I have a memory associated for every painting. Right. There's enough people in the world that operate in that way that this makes it meaningful.
Good. Oh, this one's more direct and straight on. It's interesting. Looks like maybe a late fall or winter scene there. So,